Hi everybody and welcome back to the latest episode of GTA Fancast on the Wolves Fancast YouTube channel. I'm going to be reviewing the Wolves victory over Sheffield United. Not too much to say really, and it's going to be a pretty short one, but I want to have a look at the way Adama Traore has come into his own over the last couple of games, and in particular his positioning without the ball and how we're looking to get the most out of him and how he's produced as well off the back of that. Now, having gone the entire season without an assist or a goal, Traore now has 2 assists and a goal to his name in the last 3 games. And I think really this is all about what we've seen from Wolves ever since Neto went down with his injury and left the pitch against Fulham. Basically, we reverted back to that back 3 shape. And the idea now is, and I think you saw this in the game against Sheffield United in particular, that Traore is really the senior operator in that front three at the moment. He's the one carrying the can and the one we look to really open up teams. We do it anyway, but I think he's kind of grown in stature over the last sort of hour and a half of football that he's played. And you could see in the Sheffield United game in particular that he was taking a little bit more responsibility. He saw it as his responsibility to try and make things happen. You're seeing things like he's become an aerial target, and he showed in the game against Sheffield United that he was capable of doing that job really well. And there's a unique kind of way in which we look to use them as well. And I think I want to show you with the board and a couple of stills as well that Nuno sees Traore as probably our most dangerous weapon that we've got available to us, like I say, without Neto being an option at this moment in time. And what we want from him is we kind of absolve him a little bit of defensive responsibilities. And if you have a look at this still here where Sheffield United are on the attack, every Wolves player is within shot except for Traore, and it just goes to show that what we want to do is not give him that restraint. We don't want him picking up the ball too deep and too far away from goal with extra men to kind of take on. I think you saw when we scored the goal against Fulham as well, playing him on the shoulder a little bit more with 1 or 2 men to beat rather than 3 or 4 defenders, I think is the way to go at the moment. And he showed, particularly in the second half against Fulham, how useful he can be from those kind of positions. Now, if I take you to the board here, if you see, with Sheffield United kind of in possession, what we seemed to do was drop Podence and Willian Jose. Podence really was playing as a bit of a 10 and stopping. It would have been only Norwood as the deeper central midfielder getting on the ball. And Willian Jose was kind of trying to cut off passing lanes. And Traore took this kind of inside right channel position. And I think this is where Nuno sees him operating at his most dangerous. I think we tried the inversion when Neto was available to us, but he wasn't really picking up the ball and driving at people in the way that he tends to do. And there was part of it that kind of nullified a bit of his game. He wasn't, we've seen that his strength is really taking people on the outside. And when you give him this space to work in, and that is where he can really kill teams off. And we saw with the goal, like I say, that he was able to hang about in this space, and rather than have the ball won with him kind of sat up here deeper. I mean, if I show you on this board again, if the ball goes into this kind of part of the pitch, we managed to win it here, whether it be Martinho picking up the ball. Traore being in this position is a hell of a lot more of a dangerous proposition than if he was asked to tuck in here and be part of that defensive setup. I think there was a situation where Willian Jose had the ball with his back to goal, managed to turn, and there was a pass on into this kind of channel with Traore on the shoulder, and he didn't play it, and Nuno got really frustrated with him. But it's quite clearly where we want to try and release him. Podence and Jose, they like to play a bit closer together. They're not really going to offer that threat in behind, and that's where Traore is absolutely necessary to this team. And really, those two didn't really have too much of an impact on the game, apart from say Jose scoring that goal, but Traore was constantly offering that threat. There was a little moment as well where, just to kind of display the characteristics that he has, he won a header, the ball dropped to him in the middle of the park as well. He took on a couple of men, and then before you knew it, we're on the attack, and it ended up with Semedo, I think, pulling the ball back straight to the keeper. But he managed to do all that work on his own and take the team up 30 yards. just off winning his own flick on, and it was really impressive to see that. And we've had his doubters obviously all season, but again, I think he took on he had a little bit of an arrogance about him, I think, in this game against Sheffield United, which we've not really seen from him. We've talked previously and heard previously about how he can be quite brittle in terms of his confidence. I remember moments earlier this season where he's done some great work, and as an example, winning the penalty against Brighton, and immediately every Wolves player wanted to go to him and make sure that he felt that recognition that he'd done a good job for the team. I think he's clearly his own biggest critic, and when you've got a player like him, really chest puffed out, shoulders back, and going at teams and carrying that little bit of I'm the best player on this pitch, which he can be, and he probably was for the Sheffield United game as well. Absolute weapon in our armoury. So really good to see from him. There isn't really much else to say about this game. It was a disappointing fixture, and I've got to be honest. Lost a little bit a sense of enjoyment about any of that victory, the goal at all, I think, at the moment. And part of that being the fact that the stadium is obviously entirely not atmospheric or anything like that, and the football being a little bit uninspiring as well didn't help. But going into the Burnley game, I think that's something that we should keep an eye out for as well. We might again be sat back, allowing Burnley to come on to us, but again, with that little trigger that we've got, Traore able on the break to go and run into space and really hurt teams. And hopefully, we had a couple of shots towards the end of the Sheffield United game, sharpen up a little bit of those moments where he gets into the box and maybe provides a bit more of an output. But until then, guys, I'll see you later.